Happy birthday, Paul McCartney, if you're watching. Today, Paul McCartney turned 80. Really incredible when you think about it. He's got a career in the music business for more than 60 years now, and at least 58 years he's probably one of the 5, 6, 7 most famous pop musicians, pop stars, rock stars in the world. So being that famous for so long, it's really, and then still making music, still performing live, still making good albums, that's incredible. I think only Bob Dylan kind of matches him in that regard, but I think Paul is maybe even a bit above Bob. But speaking of other icons that turned 60, not today, well, almost today. I think it was almost 60 years ago today that the Rolling Stones first performed as a band. And this video is not just a happy birthday Paul McCartney video, it's also a silly idea I had. When I'm bored, I guess I have a tendency for strange ideas, like when I'm rearranging or resequencing albums that are perfectly fine the way they are. I call this video, I think I will call it the Rolling Beatles. And I think the idea came when I read, was it an interview with Bob Dylan? I guess it was Bob Dylan who I just mentioned, who said that now that the only Beatles who are still alive are the rhythm section, Paul and Ringo, and the only Stones from the beginning that are still in the group are Mick and Keith, vocals, guitar, that it would be a good, I don't know if it would be a good, that it would be an interesting idea if they would form a supergroup, Paul McCartney on bass, Ringo Starr on drums, Mick on vocals, maybe also some rhythm guitar, and Keith on guitar. And I thought, why not make this supergroup, at least for a few concerts, they could get together, and I added some people on top of it to make it even a more brilliant group. I would have also Eric Clapton on lead guitar, and Stevie Wonder, who toured a lot with the Stones in the 70s and made songs with Paul McCartney, so I think he would fit as keyboard player. And they could have a second drummer to back up Ringo, because Ringo isn't really that confident to play as a single drummer for 50 years now, basically since the end of the Beatles. And they could have a piano player for the more boogie-woogie kind of piano parts, the Ian Stewart parts, so to speak, so that Stevie Wonder would be more like the keyboardist, the organ player. And that would be a great supergroup. Let's call them the Rolling Beatles. And I made a fictional set list that they could perform. Take it with a grain of salt, don't take it too serious. It's just my set list, and it's a strange set list. It's not the set list probably most people would like them to do. Another advantage of this supergroup would be, by the way, that Paul McCartney in recent years got lots of criticism for his voice, that it's not the same anymore, and I think to a certain extent you could say the same thing about Mick Jagger probably. In this scenario, Paul would just, it's a set list with 25 songs, but Paul McCartney would have lead vocals on only like 7 or 8 songs, Mick on 7 or 8 songs, Stevie Wonder 2 or 3 songs, Eric Clapton 1 song, Ringo Starr sings 2 songs. So with that, Paul could probably, that the voice would be better if it's not like he has to sing 90 minutes or 120 minutes without a break. So here it's a lot of breaks, and it's all in all just 7 or 8 songs he's going to sing. I think it's mostly a Rolling Stones show, because they are the backbone of this band, I would say, with lead vocals and Keith on guitar, of course. But Paul McCartney also has his place in the spotlight here. So that the concert would start with an intro, which is not played by the band, but it's just an intro. And I thought, if you make this the most spectacular get together in rock history, why not even have a spectacular intro? And the intro would be the great lost Beatles track Carnival of Light. No one really, maybe inner circle people, but outside of the Beatles inner circle, no one really ever listened to this song. It's a sound collage, it's like Revolution 9 basically. So it would be a cool idea, like with a psychedelic start, to have this as an introduction. And they recorded, Carnival of Light. Then the band would go on stage, and they would start off with Helter Skelter, and this would be a duet with Paul and Mick sharing the vocals. I picked the songs where I really could imagine that Stones, either Keith on guitar or Mick as a vocalist could bring something to the table, so that it's really like a fusion, not just the biggest hits of the Stones and the biggest hits of the Beatles. That's not interesting, but I wanted to make a set list where, with Helter Skelter, Mick could really sing some of the parts very good, and you could even make the iconic ending with Ringo ending the song and then shouting out, "I got blisters on my fingers." You could even have this in the song. Then it would lead into "Gimme Shelter." Let's imagine, Paul McCartney on bass playing "Gimme Shelter," and with "Gimme Shelter," I could imagine them to share the lead vocals between Mick, Paul, and Stevie Wonder, so that each one could sing a line here, a line there. Would also be, great blending of them together. Third song would be "What's That You're Doing." No hits, never performed live until now, but it's one of the two songs that Paul made with Stevie Wonder for his Tug of War album. And it's a great funky song that the Rolling Stones, really could play very well on. So it's, again, the song fits not just Stevie Wonder and Paul McCartney. It would also be a cool song for the Stones to play it. And again, vocals shared by Stevie, Paul, and Mick. Next song, we've got a Keith Richards sung number, "You Got the Silver," so the first ballad. Then "Wild Horses," next ballad, just Mick and Keith singing it, like the original. I also think Ringo would be a good drummer on those more country-influenced songs like "You Got the Silver" and "Wild Horses." Next one is the first lead vocals by Ringo Starr, "It Don't Come Easy." Then the only song where Eric Clapton sings, if you have him in the band, you have to at least give him one song. I'm not a big Eric Clapton fan, but he has to play Layla and to sing Layla, so that's his song. And then, I've got "Something" as the next song, and this could be shared vocals by Paul and Eric, since Eric was the, good friend of George and so on. Ninth song would be "Honky Tonk Woman." 10th song, 2000 Light Years from Home. I really can imagine these more psychedelic Stone songs, with a Beatle topping on it, could even be more brilliant. And after that, 11th song, "She's a Rainbow," again, very Beatley Stone song, so could be cool. Then 12th song, bit controversial now, "Ebony and Ivory." I think McCartney played it live, but with him singing all the lead vocals, at least on one tour, I think on the Tripping the Life Fantastic era, he sang it. But this would be, of course, the original, in the sense that it's a duet between Stevie and Paul McCartney. Then the next one would be again a song for Keith to sing, so that Mick also has his breaks to, relax his vocal cords. And this is going to be "Happy," probably his best, at least up-tempo song with Keith on lead vocals. 14th song, this is by far the weirdest or most controversial, but Paul McCartney never ever has performed "Say, Say, Say," the duet with Michael Jackson. But in this scenario, this could be a really cool song with him and Stevie Wonder, maybe even Mick, again sharing the lead vocals. Stevie could really be the Michael Jackson part, and Mick could sing the chorus. And I think these songs like "What's That You're Doing" and "Say, Say, Say" would make sense in this scenario, because it's more like an R&B band, and those are like Paul's R&B influenced songs, and the Rolling Stones with their R&B influences, Stevie Wonder, they could make it like a song from Some Girls or Emotional Rescue. And I think he never played it live, but I think Say 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 would be a great live number if done correctly. Number 15, Street Fighting Man, just Mick singing it the original way. 16, I Saw Her Standing There, because that would be a cool duet between with Paul and Mick, because Mick sang it when the Beatles were inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and Paul wasn't there because of business reasons. But when they were inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, Mick Jagger sang I Saw Her Standing There, so they could perform it as a duet here. Then 17 would be Sgt. Pepper, and it would lead right into With a Little Help from Our Friends with Ringo on vocals. Just imagine Keith, Mick and Paul singing the background vocals for Ringo on With a Little Help from Our Friends. That would be fantastic. Number 19, then Let It Be, with Eric Clapton playing the solo, of course. Number 20, Satisfaction. And the last song before the encores would be a Stevie Wonder song, Superstition. Then the encore, you have to, with that band, you have to play some encores. Of course, first encore would be Start Me Up. Not very original, but to have a Later Day Stone song as well, if you can call it a Later Day song. 23 would be again a bit more original song. It would be We Can Work It Out, but the Stevie Wonder, the R&B version that Stevie Wonder did in 1970. And again, shared vocals by Stevie and Paul, so they have 3 duets in that sense. What's That You're Doing, Ebony and Ivory, and We Can Work It Out. And the last song of the first block of encores would be Hey Jude. You have to do Hey Jude as the last song, I think. But this time including the lead guitar licks and solos that George Harrison initially wanted to play lead guitar on Hey Jude, and Paul forbid it. So it would be a nice, full circle thing if his friend Eric Clapton finally gets to play lead guitar on that song. And this would be a medley. This would lead right into Sympathy for the Devil, because the na-na-na part of Hey Jude, it's pretty much the same chord sequence as Sympathy for the Devil. So they could more and more morph that na-na-na part into the Sympathy for the Devil rhythm. Early takes of Hey Jude by the Beatles, when they're playing it, it's almost sounding like the rhythm from Sympathy for the Devil. So they could more and more get into this direction until it morphs into Sympathy for the Devil. Paul could do the hoo-hoos from Sympathy for the Devil, and then they would go off again, off stage, and the very last encore, a very special guest star would, a surprise guest star that wasn't on the bill, would appear, Bob Dylan, and they all would play and sing together, sing the chorus. All the singers in the group would sing the chorus like a Rolling Stone, of course. That would be the last song. This would be the last waltz. This would be the band called The Last Concert, The Last Waltz, which is a bit arrogant because the band was a big band, but wasn't like the biggest band of all time. But this would be like the biggest band of all time, and if they end the show with that song, then this show this would be the last waltz of the classic rock icons. This would be the concert to end all concerts. So that was just a weird thought experiment that I wanted to share on Paul's birthday. So yeah, thank you very much for watching.